What is up, YouTube? It's Roy Mills, back to Hometown Commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list of the commander in front of us on my quest out brew the magic world. As always, the deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. As well as I would appreciate anything you can do to interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, check out the links in the description. I would appreciate it. Today we are finishing off the last of our flip planeswalkers from Modern Horizons 3 as commanders. We're talking about Tamiyo today. Talking about a Simic draw deck, which I think is a ton of fun. There's a lot of fun interactions in this deck, so let's talk about it. Tamiyo, Inquisitive student on the front side, is a 1-mana 0/3 with flying. It says whenever she attacks, investigates, I make a clue, which we can pay 2 to draw a card by sacrificing it. Whenever we draw our third card in a turn, we exile Tamiyo and bring her back in, transform. On the backside, the +2 says whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, it gets -1/-0 until end of turn. The -3 can bring an instant or sorcery from our graveyard back to our hand. If it's a green card, we get a mana of any color. And then the -7, one of the things we really want to do with this deck is draw cards equal to half the number of cards in your library rounded up. You get an emblem with you, have no maximum hand size. What Tamiyo is trying to do is draw cards and pay off drawing cards. Get a ton of value from drawing cards. Of course, drawing a card gets us access to more of our cards, more of our answers, more of our good stuff, and push us towards winning a game. There's a lot of ways we can pay off drawing, and my hope is just to give you some tastes into a couple ways we can do this. And I think if I was to build the deck, I would probably pigeonhole a teeny bit more, but I think the deck still delivers at what we're trying to do. So getting into ways to draw, we have the clues, right, when Tamiyo attacks, but we want some other ways to draw. We have Overbeing of Myth, a 5-mana creature that has power and toughness equal to the number of cards in our hand. At the beginning of our draw step, we draw cards. We draw 2 cards each turn. Contentious Plan draws us a card and proliferates. Tezzeret's Gambit draws us 2 cards and then proliferates. Proliferate's an important ability in the deck. It's not a main goal of the deck, but hey, when Tamiyo's a planeswalker that has counters on it, Proliferate can help there. When drawing cards could put +1/+1 counters on things, which is part of the deck, Proliferate can be there. It's not a big part of the deck, but it is there. Thoughtcast has affinity for artifacts. Draw 2 cards for 5 mana. You can get that down to probably just 1 blue with enough artifacts laying around. And then Urban Evolution and Eureka Moment will both be able to flip Tamiyo if we need to on that turn. Urban's going to draw 3 and play an additional land. Eureka Moment lets us draw 2 and play it and put in a land from our hand on the battlefield on our turn. Both of these, of course, will be able to flip Tamiyo because that'll be 3 or 2+1 or 3 cards on our turn. Well, of course, the clues are important, right? We have Tamiyo making clues when she attacks, and we have other cards on the deck that make clues. So clues are a great way to have tokens laying around that either can draw us cards or be used for other abilities. Of course, we'll play at Candy Manufacturer, so anytime we would make a clue, we make a clue, food, and a treasure instead of one of them. Adrix and Neb will double up the amount of tokens we're making, so we can get potentially 2 clues every time. Jahira will let us tap those clues for green mana instead of having to sacrifice them to draw. You know, we could then use them kind of as mini mana rocks. Coma just for a little bit of value in the deck. I mean, at some point we're going to be drawing enough cards and having enough mana that we may want to have a secondary threat laying around, and Coma's great for it, becoming a powerhouse in itself. Lonus Genetics Expert. Anytime counters are put on it, we get that many clues, and then whenever we sack a clue, we can put a counter on another creature we control. Lonus is great, and it's going to give us the abilities to gain some more clues over time. Peregrine Took, whenever we make one or more tokens, make that many tokens plus a food, we can sack 3 foods to draw a card. A great way to just take advantage of some of these other effects in the deck are making tokens. And we will be seeing a lot more cards that make tokens. They may not always be clues. We have a lot of ways in the deck to make tokens. Tyler's Tracker makes clue every time a land comes in. Or we sack a clue, we get a counter on it. Tamiyo's Journal will give us a clue at the start of each upkeep, and then we can sack 3 clues to get any card from our library put into our hand. A great ability and one that we will greatly take to our advantage. And then Parallel Lives will just double up the amount of tokens we're making. So I'm sure at this point in the video, someone's probably thinking, but you haven't shown us very much clue support yet. What are you trying to do with the tokens? Well, the answer is here in our draw payoffs, where we're going to make a lot of tokens with a lot of things. Mordekainen can make Dog Illusion tokens, where its power and toughness is equal to twice the number of cards in our hand. and has a draw on his +2. Teferi Temporal Pilgrim can make 2/2 spirits that whenever we draw a card, you put a counter in them, as well as whenever we draw a card, we put a loyalty counter on Teferi. And his ultimate can be definitively pretty nasty. Same thing with Mordenkainen, exchanging our hand in our library and then shuffle. And then Alondra starts to get into the things where when we draw our second card each turn, we do something. And for a lot of these creatures, it's making tokens. Alondra makes us a 2/2 Drake whenever we draw our second card each turn. And whenever we draw our fifth card each turn, it and Drakes you control get +6/+6 till end of turn, where X is the number of cards in our hand. This can be particularly deadly with Tamiyo's backside, because if we minus Tamiyo for ultimate and draw half our library, those Drakes, which all have flying, are going to get massive and be a potential threat to help end the game that way. Detective of the Month makes a 2/2 white and blue detective every time we draw our second card each turn. And then as long as we get to the city's blessing, detectives can't be blocked. Ethereal Investigator making a 1/1 spirit, and whenever we investigate, or when it comes in, we investigate X times, where X is the number of opponents we have. Jor Rael making a 2/2 cat on our second card draw. And for 6 mana, creatures we control have base power and toughness XX, where X is the number of cards in the hand. Again, it works very well with Tamiyo's ultimate on the backside. Min, Wily Illusionist, makes a 1/1 illusion, which gets bigger for each other illusion you control. And then whenever illusion we control dies, you can put a permanent with your hand from your hand with mana value less than that creature's power onto the battlefield. So get a lot of illusions, and then when they die, we get real good value. We're playing Toothy as well as we are playing Pier as well. But Toothy says whenever we draw a card, we put a counter on it. And whenever it leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. Again, a great way to get value, and even get value when it leaves. Ominous Seas, whenever we draw a card, we put a counter on Ominous Seas, and we can remove 8 of them. They're making 8/8 Kraken token. Again, great way to just take that value over time and make those tokens that can really help us out. Prophesitic Memory, no maximum hand size, draw a card when it comes in the beginning of combat. If we draw in more than one card this turn, put X +1/+1 counters and target creature we control, where X is the number of cards you draw on this turn -1. Again, turn the cards we're drawing to into counters on our creature. Wizard's class does something very similar. On level 3, whenever we draw a card, put a counter on target creature we control. And then Second Incursion for just a little bit of mill. Whenever we draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. So again, every time we draw, or every time we draw a bunch of things, these effects are going off, they're helping us, we're building up the value that way. But, well, how are we going to end the game? And funnily enough, this is the second deck this week that we brewed for the channel that has both a Jace and Lab Maniac as win cons, and they do what we want to do. We have a deck that's focused on drawing, especially a deck that can draw a lot of itself, and that means that both Jace and Lab Maniac are important to be alternate win cons in case we do manage to draw our entire library. We win the game instead of losing. We draw draw from our library and have no cards in it. As far as the token side goes, Tangle Trove Kelp can turn all of our clues into 6/6 plants every turn in combat, which is going to help us turn those clues into big attackers to hurt our opponents, as well as we can use something like Rise and Shine to turn all of our non-creature artifacts into creatures. They just become creatures now, and we can use them to attack and take real advantage of it that way. And then we always have things like Mechanized Production to pick an artifact we're going to have a lot of. And if we get to 8 of it and nobody can interact with Mechanized Production, we win the game on our upkeep. So you can see there's plenty of horses in the race here how we can win. We have the draw our entire deck plan with Jason Lab Maniac. We have the clue game plan. We have the reanimate all of our non-creature artifacts. We have the mechanized production game plan. I think there's a lot of ways that we can kind of get ourselves toward victory. So let's get in to our playtest. Keeping a 2-lander here with a rampant growth, Thought Vessel, and a few other fun things. But the good thing to remember is that Tamiyo is a 1-mana creature, so we want to get Tamiyo down right away so we can start attacking with her to get some of those clues saved up for later. Turn 2, get the Overflowing Basin down, and I think I want to just Rampant Growth. 3 mana next turn could get me, Thought Vessel. It could get me Tireless Tracker. I think we just want to just get some more, get some more land down and get that stuff popping. And then we'll attack with Tamiyo. It is a 0/3, so it ain't going to deal too much damage to nobody. But on turn 2 in the air, I doubt anybody can block it. But we will still get a clue for the trouble, and that was the reason why we wanted to attack. Turn 3, we see a forest, which is great. We are a blue away from Jace, so there's not that plan. But the cool part now is, and I think, which to me I think makes the most sense, is Thought Vessel into Tireless Tracker. I guess we could conversely also go into Psychic Corrosion as well, but I like the idea of getting Tireless Tracker down for more of the clues. Go to combat, attack with Tamiyo, get another clue. No 3-card draws yet, but that's okay. I think we're working up, we're getting value here, and the goal is to get to a point where we can turn that value into more. What I like about these clues is that this is going to get Tireless Tracker bigger and bigger once we start sacrificing them. Okay. This turn we have the Parallel Lives if we want to go that route. Thoughtcast is 3 mana right now. With the 2 mana right now with the reduction from the artifacts, and would flip Tamiyo. So that's an interesting thing for us to think about. That's only 2 mana to do that. So we could play Psychic Corrosion first, then cast Thoughtcast, right? This is going to draw 2, which will flip Tamiyo, but it's going to mill everybody for 4, right? Mill all of our opponents. Then we can, play a land for turn for next turn. But that is 3, and then we're going to do that immediately. Well, yeah, flip her over right away. And, sorry, that would have gotten us another clue on that land coming in for Tireless Tracker. Here, I think we just tick up to protect it. We don't have anything to -3 yet. We want to get towards that -7. So we could potentially get Thoughtcast back to cast and draw more cards, depending on where we get as far as this go. Rejuvenating Springs for turn, getting another clue off of Tireless Tracker. I guess there is the argument that we could have Parallel Lives first. 7 mana. We could Ethereal Investigator, or we could Jace. Jace would allow us to start drawing some more cards, right? Which could be an interesting outlook there. We could Parallel Lives to start getting more tokens off the Tireless Tracker, but I mean, we do got to start paying 2 now to sack them. We do have 3 blue for Jace. Let's get Jace down. And then we're just 1 mana off of another spell, but maybe we'll just crack a clue. +1 to mill an opponent for 2, and then draw a card. Everybody's going to mill 2. And then I would just sack a clue to draw a card. Tireless Tracker gets the counter. Everybody mills 2 again. We will just tick up Tamiyo again to protect itself a little bit. Seeing Teferi is great because now we can start making those spirits that are going to get bigger and bigger. I like this. We're getting into a good position here. We'll go 1 more turn. I like the getting Teferi down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That leaves us with 2 mana. Teferi, we would want to -2 to -2 to make that spirit, because we're going to try to draw a couple cards this turn, right? Now we tick up Jace again. That's going to mill somebody for 2, draw a card. Everybody mills 2. Loyalty counter on Teferi because we drew a card. And +1/+1 counter on the Spirit because we drew a card. And this is an interaction we really love. I don't know if we played a land for turn. So land for turn, get us a clue. Let's see, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 2, 3 mana left. I think we -3 Tamiyo, right? Get her back down to 3. Bring the Thoughtcast back to hand, right? It's not a green, so we don't get a mana, but we could play this for 1 blue, right? To draw 2. 2 counters on Teferi, right? Because we drew 2. 2 counters on the Spirit. Everybody mills 4 because of the corrosion. And now we're really setting up, right, some good value. Tamiyo, I think at this point we'll want to get her ticked back up to try to get up to -7, but I think we have enough value now set up on board that we can tick her up, play some more things in return and get some good value. But let's get into playtest number 2. Starting with a 4-lander and a spark double. Could become a copy of something fun. Oh, sorry, 5-lander, I apologize. Turn 1, Island Tamiyo. I mean, I feel like a broken record, but hey, if it was good the first time, let's do it a second time. Curious Inquiry could be odd, right? Because it would get us another clue. But as soon as Tamiyo flips, then it's going to fall off. But I think that's probably our best play here. Curious Inquiry and Tamiyo attack somebody in the air. And we're going to get 2 clues for the pleasure. 1 on attack, and then 1 when it deals damage to a player. So we like it, right? We're accumulating the clues, and we can try to start using them now. Turn 3, we are what? 1 mana off the Investigator, 1 mana off of Sparkdova. So I think we attack again, make 2 more clues. And I think we just crack 1, right, to draw a card, which we don't hit anything we want, but that's okay. We at least got another card down, and we're good to go. Turn 4. Now we have something like Mechanized Production. I mean, we could just as easily put 1 down, mechanize the clue, go to combat, deal combat damage to, I'm sure, somebody in the air, because unless we're playing against 3 flying decks, who's going to have flyers down on turn 4, and not everybody's going to have one. And our opponents are just at risk of the mechanized production, right? Come back to our turn, make another clue. We don't have it yet, but that's okay. I think, we're basically going to present our opponents with the option now to have to deal with it, right? I kind of want the 2 clues, right? So we just attack, make the 2 clues, and then I'd probably just Urban Evolution, draw 3, put another land down. Tamiyo flips over, which is perfectly fine. We're going to lose the Curious Inquiry. +2 to help protect ourselves, and now, unless our opponents have something on upkeep, we win the game. Now, on the off chance they have something and they destroy the mechanized production, we just, set up like Teferi or Coma, and we're probably just going to ramp into good value. But let me know, what do you think of Tamiyo down in the comment section below. This is an interesting deck. I like it. Draw for value. It gets to play 2 of the Planeswalkers that, since they've released, I've liked and I've never been able to really take advantage of in Mordenkainen and Teferi Temporal Pilgrim. So I think those both get really good love in this deck, and probably would be the reason I would try it out. But let me know what you think, and I will catch you guys next time.